Welcome to this edition of Roadmap to Medical School with Dr. Rhonda Mattox. I'm Dr. Rhonda Mattox, and today's special guest is none other than the amazing student Dr. Paige Brooks, who reigns from Memphis, Tennessee, went to undergrad at the Xavier University before matriculating into the University of Arkansas Medical Sciences College of Medicine. And she is now a fourth year medical student. She is about to graduate. Even my dog sees value in celebrating her. Roof, roof. That's right, Oliver Twist. Yay. So we have with us the amazing student doctor who is also involved in numerous organizations. At the top of the list, which is the amazing Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated. Yes, 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 yes. And she's also a member of the Student National Medical Association and a Toastmaster. Thank you so much for joining me today. How have you been?
I've been doing well. Thank you so much for the invitation, Dr. Mattox.
Yes, absolutely. So you dreamt of becoming a doctor all your life, and now you are living the dream and realizing that the dream is what? Work.
Yes, that it is.
It
That
is
it is.
work. So, for our listeners out there who have been dreaming of going to medical school and they are putting in the work to get into medical school, what are some tips that they can take away so that they know how to secure the spot, secure the bag, the medical school bag, and get the admission, and also find mentors and people that they can shadow so that they can make this trek?
I would say to be patient. I would say three things: be patient, network as much as you can, and I would also say don't be afraid to hear the word no. Would probably be my three biggest things for making sure that you secure yourself a spot in medical school.
Tell me about that. Don't be afraid of no. What does that mean?
So I grew up when I was in high school and applying to college and kind of nervous about where I would get accepted, where I wouldn't get accepted. A pastor that I had, may he rest in peace, he passed a couple of years ago, used to tell me that you have not because you ask not. So the worst thing that people can tell you is no, right? So email that professor, email that doctor, email your pediatrician. You never know what opportunities you may get if you just ask. Closed mouths don't get fed, as we say in our
Oh, I love it.
community as well. So just don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone and, send a quick email. Hey, I'm interested in applying to medical school. I really value your work. I would love if I had the opportunity to shadow you or other one of your other coworkers to kind of get more of a hands-on experience on what to expect. And the worst thing they can do is say no. And a lot of times, I think, especially for students who are interested in medicine and for students who are in medicine, we tend to have a lot of anxiety about being told no because we internalize that and we feel like because they said no, then obviously there's something wrong with us. There's something that we did wrong. And that's not necessarily the case. So I would just say take the step, go outside of your comfort zone, and be okay with hearing the word no. It might not even be a no, it might be a not yet. And you never know what opportunities may come your way if you just are able to swallow that fear. Courage is having a fear and doing it anyway. And so I say, just do it anyway.
I agree. And here's the thing, if you don't ask, it's an automatic no. The worst thing that they can say is no, and then you have exactly what you have now. But what if they say yes? So that's some really good counsel. How did you arrive at that? And can you give us some examples of where you pushed through the no's and you got to your yes on
Oh,
your journey to medical
absolutely.
school?
Absolutely. I would say my first opportunity to shadow, and one thing that maybe we'll have a chance to talk about this as well, is that I was involved in a program in Memphis known as Memphis Challenge. And Memphis Challenge usually had a lot of professional type conferences or workshops where you had an opportunity to to get a chance to talk to professionals that's in that theme for the day. So one of the professionals I spoke with was a neonatologist at Baptist Memorial Hospital for Women in Memphis. And, I just went up to him and said, hey, I'm interested in medicine. Would it be okay if I had a chance to shadow with you? And he, of course, agreed. And through that shadowing opportunity, just doors upon doors were open. There were volunteer opportunities who had previously told me no, that by working with him and showing that I was willing to work hard and willing to study and willing to be professional, he was able to make a case on my behalf. And that following summer, I was able to volunteer. And that volunteer opportunity and working with the people that I got a chance to work with on that volunteer opportunity was the reason that I applied to UAMS in the first place. So they kind of all connects to each other. I would say that, when you get a closed door, I know in Memphis, St. Jude is a very, 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 very sought after volunteer opportunity for a lot of students for obvious reasons. It's a huge, big name program, but I wouldn't put so much emphasis on the program. I think you have to put emphasis on experiences, and that might mean that you don't get to work at one of the top cancer centers in the country, or even the world. But you do have an opportunity to work at a small women's hospital that not everybody goes to, and you have the opportunity to show who you are a lot more and make a lot of connections that will help you for years and years and years to come. I mean, these women that I worked with, the nurses and other staff that I worked with, were friends on Facebook. They got me graduation gifts. It's a whole thing. And so I don't think you should see it as, oh, I didn't get this top opportunity, I'm just going to call it quits. Don't be afraid to just see what's out there and experiment with what's out there, because it may be 10 times more valuable than anything that St. Jude or Harvard or Johns Hopkins could ever give you.
I love that counsel for a couple of reasons. You can get used to hearing no, but what do you do with the no afterwards? For me, I say, well, this may not work for you right now. Do you have any other colleagues that you think might be interested? Any other colleagues at your site, or any other, or if you don't know of any, where would you recommend that I look to consider other shadowing opportunities? Because while they may not be able to afford it, as a psychiatrist, I don't allow people to shadow me because it's a very intimate time. But I can get you connected to others who might allow you to shadow them. It's just not what I'm going to do at this time, because you know how hard it is to get people to tell you their business, and certainly not when they have an audience watching. I love those points. How did you get your first shadowing opportunity?
So, like I said, it was through one of the programs that Memphis Challenge had while I was a junior in high school. I've slept since then, so I don't remember the full details of exactly when it was, but I was very nervous. There's this very well-known doctor that took the opportunity to speak to us, and I think that says something too. If you see someone who is willing to take the time to come and educate students and come to even take the time out to just talk about what they do for a living, obviously they have some type of passion for teaching students that are at several levels below them, right? I wouldn't expect someone who had no desire to mentor to come to a high school presentation where the high schoolers probably understand about 10% of what he does for a living. So then that in and of itself, I think, is a reason to go up to these type of people. It's really, to me, you have to kind of go out and do the work and search for opportunities like that. Sororities have those opportunities. MAPS is a really good one for college students. There are so many organizations out there that have kind of like career fair type programs where you have the opportunity to be able to talk to these people who are willing to take time out of their very busy schedule to speak to high school students or speak to college students. And I think you just have to have the courage to just walk up and go, hey, I'm interested. How can I get involved? What do I need to do to get involved? And kind of be outside of your comfort zone. And like I said, be willing to hear the word no and being like, okay, that's great. Is there something, someone, like you were saying, someone else I can go to, someone else I can speak to? And so that's what I did. I went up to him and I said, I'm very interested in medicine. I would love the opportunity to shadow. And he was such a great mentor. He's still my mentor to this day. I invited him to my wedding. He's still my mentor to this day. But even though I couldn't shadow him every day, he took the time to set me up with multiple people throughout the week. So it was an entire week during my spring break in high school. And I think I shadowed him for one day. I shadowed a physical therapist for one day. I shadowed another colleague of his for one day. I shadowed a nutritionist for one day, and kind of gave me a broad spectrum of what to expect, not even to discourage me from applying for an MD, but to let me know the type of people that I would be working with if I were to choose the same career as him. And I think that's really important. So that's kind of how I got into it.
Why is shadowing so important, do you think?
I think shadowing is important. So it's important for applications, yes, because they see that you're showing a true interest in medicine. But I also think it's important for you. A lot of people don't know that they don't really like the sight of blood until they see blood for the first time on someone that is not themselves. A shadowing opportunity is a good way to see that. Maybe you shadow in the ED and it's super fast paced and it's super intense, and you're like, I don't know if I could do this every day for the rest of my life. So I think it's a good way to show admission committees that you are interested in medicine and that you've taken the time to show that you're interested in medicine. But I think the person who is applying gets as much value out of it as well, because it lets them know, maybe I don't want to work in ED, but I loved working in anesthesia or psychiatry or family medicine. You kind of have a little bit more of understanding of who you are and what you're able to handle as a person. But also on top of that, you have the opportunity to network. Like I said, my mentor I networked with, I still talk to him to this day. And so it gives you the opportunity to have someone and build a relationship with someone that you can go back to and say, hey, I'm applying to medical school this year. Do you mind reading my personal statement? Hey, I'm having a really difficult year on my first year. Do you have any advice for me? It allows you to be able to take something that is a shadowing opportunity and turn that person into a mentor, which I think can be invaluable, especially going through medical school when everything is rough.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's interesting that you said that, because I had not thought about the fact that the first person to allow me to shadow her is still in my life today. She is still someone that I will reach out to and talk to about some of the decisions that I'm making. I have offered her jobs down the road when I was a medical director, and she has really been an amazing resource. And so many times the people that allow you to shadow them will become lifelong pillars in your life I hadn't even thought about it until you said that just now. I will echo what you said about the importance of shadowing. I have a friend of mine who went through medical school, went through residency, and now she's acting. She's no longer a pediatrician. She said she was following her mother's dream. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to do medicine for yourself and not for anyone else. It's too expensive, it's too taxing, it's too time consuming for you to do it for anyone other than you. So as you do the shadowing that and being mentored by someone, that is also your opportunity to ask what you think are the dumb questions, the whatever questions, so that you can make sure that this commitment that you're making for a lifetime, you're married to medicine. This commitment that you're making is one that is good for you, because the going will get tough, and you don't want to drop the baton when the going gets tough.
Yes, and if your why is because my mom wants me to, that's a why that's a little bit tougher to hold on to, as opposed to when the why is closer and personal to you as a person. because it will be those times where it's 3 in the morning and you're ready to go to sleep, and and you don't, for for my parents, because I didn't have this situation with choosing my career. I had this situation with choosing what school to go to, where one of my parents and I were at odds about what school I should go to for medical school. And I remember, I guess they went and asked a person of kind of their opinion about it. And they said, if your daughter goes to the school and dislikes it, would you really want to risk your relationship with her if she does not like it? Because every time she thinks about it, she's going to be like, well, I went here because of you. And so you don't want to ruin that kind of relationship with someone like your parent or your sibling or your mentor as well. So I think it's important to do things for yourself, not only to preserve your own self-worth, but also to preserve the relationship that you have with that person.
It's a very great point. As you are talking about how to go out and secure that, I've heard you say, what I always say is start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. Start in your doctor's office. Start with your professors. Who do you know? Who would you recommend? There's the network of 5, the 5 degrees of separation. You're only 5 degrees from the president or 5 degrees from your next opportunity. And so as you put the word out there of what you're interested in doing, and even something as simple as a Facebook post, hey, I'm interested in shadowing a pediatrician. Do you have any recommendations? Something like that can net you as well. So while you may not have a Memphis, whatever it was that you talked about, you can do that. Of course, you can go to amdpa.org and type in, would love to shadow somebody, and we will get you connected or find some way. So those are some really good points. What were some of the more meaningful things that you took away other than just the networking opportunity? What did you learn about yourself when you were shadowing?
Oh my goodness, so much. I think the particular specialty that I shadowed in was neonatology. And for those who do not know, neonatology is for premature babies mostly. They deal with all babies who have illnesses, but their bread and butter is premature babies. And so I grew up with a disability. I'm completely deaf in my right ear. And it gave me a sense of connection, and it kind of gave me a foundation almost, because I had a understanding of where these babies were coming from. I wasn't a preemie, but I knew from the conversations I had with my mentor that a lot of these premature babies grow up and they can have a disability of some sort, whether it's a physical disability or intellectual disability. And it kind of gave me a different perspective, not only for my patients, of whatever their history was and whatever their disability is does not necessarily define their capabilities. Their disability doesn't define their capabilities. But that also applied to me, because I grew up, thinking that my disability did define my capability. And so by shadowing and seeing these little tiny, tiny, tiny little babies in little incubators, basically, kind of made me go, if they can get through it and if they can be as great as I think they can be, then why can't I be as great as I think they can be? So that was kind of like a personal revelation for me, shadowing. Mm-hmm. And I know that's a little bit deep. And that might not be what other people get from that, but I think I learned in like a cornucopia of things about myself, especially when it came to that particular field.
Yes, and it's interesting because it doesn't sound like you were drawn to that, but it sounds like it was a magnet for you, and your takeaway was much more personal and it resonated with you even until now. I remember hearing your story and I got goosebumps listening to your story a few months ago as you shared. As we talk about this, I need you all to understand, you think that the mentors or the people who are allowing you to shadow are doing you a favor. I need you to understand that there are a whole group of us who recognize how challenging it was to get into medical school. And we actually want to support you. So many people will say, well, I didn't want to bother you. No, you're not bothering me, because I see this as an investment in the future of medicine, an investment in increasing the healthcare workforce diversity. And this is important to us as well. And I won't say all of us, but there are a great number of us who love it and would welcome the opportunity. So don't think of it as you bothering us, or you disturbing us or anything. And here's the thing: we're big girls and big boys. If it's something that we can't do, we'll tell you, but we will be rooting for your success. And even if we can't work with you at that particular time, we'll remember that this is something that you're interested in. And it may be a little bit to where we're telling someone, hey, go check out such and such, and maybe tell you about different opportunities as they come down the pipeline. So don't let your fear of disturbing us keep you from your destiny because you didn't reach out. I love your share. That's really important. As we wrap up, is there anything that you'd like to leave our listeners with as it relates to how to go get your mentor or your or your person in shadow?
I would say 3 things that I always stress when people ask me, how do I, go about networking and obtaining a mentor? You want to keep it professional, keep it simple, and keep it motivated. So you want to be professional in all of your communication with this person. This person is not your best friend that you run to Sonic with after school. This person is in a professional setting, and so you want to act accordingly. If that person is willing to come a little bit less formal with you, that person will let you know. I would never assume otherwise. I would also, like I said, also keep it motivated. The more you show interest and the more you're willing to work and ask questions and all of that and be engaged, the more they're willing to work with you as well. So, if you ask for a shadowing opportunity and then you show up and you don't ask questions and you're on your phone all the time and you're looking every which way, it's going to be a little bit harder to make a connection with that person. But if you're asking questions and you're being engaged and you're, even from a medical student perspective on my rotations, when a resident is saying, hey, you want to see this? I'm like, just so you know, the answer is always yes. Yes, I always want to see everything. I don't care how minor it is. I don't care how small it is, because that's an experience for me to get exposure. And so I think if you show up with that kind of energy, it'll make it a lot easier for you to build those kind of relationships, because they see that this is something that you want to do.
And understand that these are the people who may be writing your letters of recommendation for different opportunities, whether it be medical school or the summer science research opportunity or something like that. And with that in mind, you want to show up early. You want to leave late. You want to bring your best foot forward. You want to look professional. You don't want to be on your phone and chewing gum or showing up in pajama bottoms or yoga pants. And while I know this may sound elementary, like, well, who in the world would do that?
You would be surprised.
Oh, you would be surprised. Oh, you would be surprised.
And I would say I'm old school too. I always keep a small notebook and a pen, not just to write down questions as you think of it, but it also serves a purpose. My mom used to make me journal. When I shadowed, she made me journal every single day. And then when it came for me applying to medical school, it was easy for me to recall those particular memories for application or when they asked me about it in interviews. So just having a small journal to write down, because it looks a lot better than, typing in your notes on your phone, I think goes a long way as well.
Oh, I love that point. And I will say, having a small journal so that when they are talking to you and they're presenting some information, that you're not intending to remember it. And of course, if you're like me, you may not remember what you had for breakfast yesterday, but that you can jot those things down. You look invested, you look interested, and we are much more likely to keep talking to you. I remember talking to someone And I said, you're not going to remember this. Oh, I'm going to remember it. I said, no, you're not. And certainly they did not remember it. So having a journal and a piece and a pen to write down that, it signals to the person that's doing the teaching, that's investing their time, they are interested. Understand that you may be working with someone who is a surgeon who makes thousands of dollars an hour. So they are investing. That person, if they invest an hour in you, they've invested thousands of dollars of their time in you. Somebody may make $300 an hour. So when they share that hour with you, don't show up late. Show up ready to do the work. Thank you so much.
Thank you note.
And yes, and not a thank you email, though that's nice, but a handwritten thank you note really goes a long way. Now, you can send the thank you email. That's better than nothing, right? But a thank you note is so much more memorable in this generation where we don't send thank you notes. Is there anything that you wish you had said that you'd like to leave our listeners with before we wrap up?
I think that's it. I think take it a day at a time and don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. I think is the biggest point I want to drive home.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you, thank you so much, student Dr. Paige Brooks. I can't wait for it to just be Dr. Paige Brooks.
Me
I'm
too.
looking forward to that day. It has been a delight to interview. I appreciate your time and thank you so much for investing in the next generation of medical students. So remember, family, step outside of your comfort zone and make an impact. I will see you same time, same place, every first Tuesday from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m.